إذن الأستاذة باولا معانا على الجو Hello Paula, do you hear me?
I do. Good morning, Zohaib.
Okay, great to have you with us. We are very excited to listen to your lecture, and I'm gonna introduce you to the audience, and then we'll have the time to start. So just give me just a minute for the introducing.
Sure.
Fantastic. Hello everyone, and welcome back again to the electronic official platform of Al-Karkh University of Science. Our lecture for today will be held by Paula Moore, who is an English instructor at Missouri State University English Language Institute. Paula Moore has taught English, second or foreign language at the university level for over 20 years, is a past president of Mid-America TESOL, and is currently the Special Programs Director at the English Language Institute at Missouri State University. Her lecture will be entitled Language Learning and Mindset Training, the Brain at Any Age. The floor is yours, Paula, and we are very excited to watch and listen your lecture.
Thank you
Please.
so much, Zohaib. It's a great honor to be with all of you today. This is very exciting for me. It's my first time to present in Iraq. The wonders of technology. It's incredible. So when I told my father last night that I was speaking with faculty and staff in Iraq this morning, he was amazed. So welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to talk to you about my favorite topic, which is of course language learning. And the focus of today's topic is on mindset, or the way we think about language learning, and how we can train our brain to be language learners at any age. So let's get started. I want to talk to you a bit about my story. So I was born in Holland. My mother and father were serving in the military, and I was born while they were stationed in Holland. After I was 18 months old, we moved back to the United States, and my father's military service was over. That was a mandatory thing for him. And so I don't remember much about being in Holland. In fact, I don't have any physical memory of that I can recall at all. However, as I was growing up, my mom and dad talked so much and showed pictures every year, multiple times a year, of their experience living in Holland, traveling in Europe, and they really made it clear that getting to know people from other cultures and learning their language and practicing their language was an enriching experience, and it was a life-changing thing for me. And so you can imagine, maybe, as I was growing up, I looked at my mom and dad and said, I want to be them when I grow up. And so, my whole life I thought, wouldn't it be cool if somehow I had the chance to live in another country one day too. So, as I was growing up, things sort of led me in the direction that I ended up going. Now I'm going to switch gears. I'm going to change the subject just for a little bit and tell you about my brother. You might know, what does your brother have to do with language learning and the brain? Well, my brother was born when I was 4, and by the time he was 2 years old, my parents recognized that something wasn't quite right with him, because he wasn't speaking. He was communicating, but he wasn't using words, and they became concerned, and so they took him to a university doctor who did testing on him, and after the testing, the doctor came to my mom and dad, and the doctor said, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but your son is retarded and you should put him in an institution because he will never have a normal life. That was devastating. My mother and father were heartbroken to hear this about their child. They talked about it. They decided then, we're not going to abandon our son. We love him. We're going to do the best to give him a rich learning environment, train him, and provide him with the best opportunities possible, and see what happens. But we are not going to abandon him. So here you can see my brother as an adult. He's 44 years old. He graduated from high school. Working as a custodian in the high school in his town for 20 years. He hunts, he fishes, and takes care of my father now. So when I was growing up, I saw that what the scientists said about my brother's ability really wasn't true. They didn't really understand and didn't really know what his potential was. And so as I became an adult and a language teacher, I looked to my brother's experience and I thought, you know, if my brother Michael can do all of that in his life, I believe that anybody can learn a language. I believe that anyone can grow and keep learning throughout their life. I naturally had that idea, and I was also still very adventurous in my young adult life. So I wanted to test this out. The idea that, you know, at any point in our lives we can continue to learn. Well, I want to back up. I did go to Taiwan, but before I went to Taiwan, I got my master's degree in teaching English as a second language. And during that degree program, I learned something. I learned about a concept, critical period hypothesis. And I'll talk about that more later. But the basic idea was that, you know, there's a certain point in your life after which it's very hard to learn a second language. So here I am in Taiwan. I was about 28, 29 years old at this time. And I lived there for 3 years, so I was 31 or 32 when I moved back to the U.S. While I was there, I studied Mandarin, and then I taught English. And as you can see, I made friends. I was very close with the family there, so I was really immersed in the culture and in the language. And after 3 years, I was fluent enough and proficient enough that people who met me thought that I was a native Mandarin speaker. Well, if they got to speaking with me a little longer, they could realize that my vocabulary was much more limited than they probably thought. But I could speak in a way that convinced people that I was very, very fluent and had a high proficiency level. So this still, you know, made me think, well, if I could do that, and if I spent more time, I probably could become like a native speaker. So what does that say, you know, about the theory that I learned when I was doing my master's degree? And it kind of told me, this may not be right. You know, this may not be true. So after being in Taiwan, came back to Missouri State University, and I started teaching at the English Language Institute. Have had wonderful experience in it, teaching adults and preparing students for university. I've been a curriculum developer, and now I'm the director of a specific unit of the ELI that creates short-term immersion programs and online learning platforms and English for specific purposes courses. And I'm very passionate about what I do. It's a joy to get to meet people from around the world and still practice and learn as I get older. So let's go back to the title of today's presentation, Language Learning and Mindset. A mindset is what you think and how you perceive yourself. It's really great. I saw this the other day and I thought, this is great. I just want to share this with my friends in Iraq that I'm going to meet. So this horse is staying there in that spot because he sees that he's tied to this little plastic chair. And he doesn't realize that that little plastic chair is very light and he is much stronger. He could break away from that chair easily. He doesn't need to stay there, but he thinks he's trapped. And that is the mindset that that horse has. And I've found in many cases, a particular mindset, a similar mindset is prevalent among a lot of people about what language learning is and how their abilities are. So I want to talk to you about some obstacles. So common obstacles to language learning. And I put the word obstacles in quotations because I'm a believer in his way. I'm a believer that obstacles are only in the mind. But let's take a look at these. The first one, I'm too old. Only people who start learning a language when they're really young can become fluent. Have you heard that before? Have you thought that before? Maybe you think that now. I hope that you change your mind by the time you finish. Another common obstacle that people mention about language was, I don't have a language learning gene. I have no language learning talent. I wasn't born with the natural ability to learn language. People who have specific natural talents, but does that mean if you don't have the talent, you can't learn the language? That's my answer. And then the last obstacle I say is, I don't have the chance to be immersed in the language because I can't travel. And right now, especially, this is true with the coronavirus, and we're all staying home. And so that's limiting our ability to engage with the world in a physical way. Sometimes people think that you have to be immersed in the language by traveling. So we're going to talk about that too. So those are the three common obstacles that I've heard people say of asking why either they can't learn another language or they feel that they're not going to be good at it. And that, I believe, is an obstacle that gets in their way of being successful. Let me take a quick break to take a break. So let's take a look at each of these. Obstacle number one, I'm too old. So here we see grandparents and the grandchildren. And so this is an example where, people might look at the kids and say, oh, they're natural language learners. But the grandparents might say, well, so the question I have is, where does this idea come from? Is it true? I'm a scholar. I like to look at research. But let's talk about this. Where does it come from? I mentioned this before, and this was a major part of my training as a language teacher. I learned about the critical period hypothesis. Well, the critical period hypothesis was introduced from biology into first position theory in 1959. And it was later, just a few years later, adopted by second language acquisition theorists. And as a result of that, it became widely accepted as true. What is the critical period hypothesis? And that when we the brain clues naturally absorb and become fluent in a second language. It's the reason why so as an adult learner, not being able to be good at or gain proficiency in learning a second language. Let's take a look at what that means. neurotypical, cognitively typical people in an environment where they have all five senses, they were not looking at this. But Lindenberg is comparing or saying that the research of those L1 children in those situations applies to us. Okay, does it? I think there are a lot of factors in there that interfere and impossible to clearly state that comparison. Also, Lindenberg was stating that the critical period in his mind was related to automatic acquisition and immersive content. So, what does that mean? That does not mean learning in a classroom setting, learning from a textbook, materials, interaction with a teacher, a guide, other classmates, virtual, video. Listening and speaking and gradually acquiring it as the child would. So that's the second problem with this hypothesis. The third problem is that there's not really an agreement on what the age of this critical period, what the age is. Some people say that it's 12, some 15, some 16, some 18. So if that is such a huge span of 6 years out of 18 years, that's a third of the lifespan at that point. That's a really wide range. And can we make an assumption that this hypothesis is true if such a huge range is at play? So which age is it, and how do we know? That's another problem that we haven't discovered yet. And then also, we know that critical period actually is looking at something interesting. They're not looking at learning. They're looking at age, ultimate attainment. And actually, adults perform better than children in terms of learning speed. So there must be something else going on here. What's going on? Is the critical period relevant? Is it true? Or is it just something that was borrowed from another field and adapted without a lot of critical thought? That's, of course, what I think. So recent research has come out from Harvard, Boston, and MIT. These researchers, one of which is Steven Pinker. So if you're a linguist, you might know about him. He's very famous right now. They conducted an exhaustive study of over 600,000 respondents from 38 different native languages. The critical period hypothesis. And what is that there's no consensus. There's no evidence to support the theory of the critical period. And that if it's true that people learn slower, or that their ultimate attainment, that is probably culturally constructed. Now, why is that? What happens to people when they turn 18 years old? They leave the life of a full-time student, and they might the workforce, or they go to university and begin to study their career path, maybe they become parents. So life stage, rather than a function of the brain, may be what's happening, that it's what's happening in people's lives externally, not what's happening internally, that actually is the cause of a lower level of attainment goals. I thought that was really interesting. Okay, so that's myth number one, or obstacle number one. So can you be too old to learn the language? I think the ultimate attainment depends on how much time you put into the context. So yes, of course, if you immerse in it, if you have a lot of input, you will put more out. Gain more. And then what is the nature of the learning? Are you getting a lot of feedback, by the way? Are you getting a lot of engagement, a lot of chance to produce and practice? So I think, based on the research that we've seen, that the ultimate attainment of a second language is really not a function of age. It's more a function of time, context, and nature of learning. That's number one. Obstacle number two is I don't have talent. I don't have what it takes to be a language learner. Well, a lot of people feel that way. I'm really good at language, or yeah, I'm great at engineering, but which I just. So where does this idea come from, and is it true? You can probably guess what my ultimate answer is going to be, but let me take you through it. All right, there is an emerging field within psychology called positive psychology, and I'm thinking some of you, maybe a lot of you, have heard about it, but it's the idea that rather than focusing on what's wrong with people, this field of study looks at what's right with people, and they look at what causes people to thrive and be successful. And so in the last 10 to 15 years, psychology has really shifted away from the pathology and toward success. What creates success? Why? What creates mental health? And so these 5 elements are some of the factors that will come into a feeling of well-being. Positive emotions, engagement, positive relationships, meaning, accomplishment. Those are some of the areas that positive psychology really looks at. And I'm bringing this up because language learning has to do with the brain, and psychology is related to the brain and mind and mindset. As a result of this new field, we learn about 2 different mindsets. One is fixed and one is growth. So what is this? A person with a fixed mindset has a certain belief about herself. Certain things I'm not good at others, and this isn't going to change. Whereas a growth mindset, a person with a growth mindset might say, some things are easy for me to do, and others are harder, but with practice, I will be able to do them too. So positive psychology is very interested in the way a fixed versus growth mindset impacts ultimate performance and academic and success in life. Now, the most famous positive psychologist who has been researching this area is Carol Dweck. She wrote a book that came out about 10 years ago called Mindset, the New Psychology of Success. And she has done extensive research on what happens when you take kids who think fixed mindset and teach them that our brains are actually able to grow and become smarter over time. And what she has learned is that those kids, when they move from a fixed to a growth mindset, they begin performing much better than they had before, and they outperform other students with a fixed mindset many times over. In fact, our research has shown that teaching impoverished students living in very, very poor areas, those students out the fixed mindset in wealthier school districts. Imagine what that can do for a young person who comes from a family of very little financial means. He can grow and change and get better. To me, this is very powerful. And this is also the mindset that I learned. So of course, when I learned about Fred, I said, aha, this is why. My brother has a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. The doctor imposed a fixed mindset on my brother, but he wasn't right. He was wrong. So you can see that the two mindsets really thinking about learning. So a fixed mindset avoids challenges, whereas a person who has a growth mindset embraces challenge and says, let me try it, let me see, learn about it. Someone with a fixed mindset, sees obstacles and gives up easily. Persists in the face of setbacks. If there's an obstacle, I'm going to find a way to move it out of the way and continue. And very, very important, they see fixed mindset, they see effort as fruitless or even worse. It's not worth trying because I know I'm going to fail. Whereas people with a growth mindset, I see that effort is the path to mastery. It sounds like common sense, does it to you? To me it does. So here, can we apply growth mindset and fixed mindset to the idea that we were talking about? What's that obstacle? The obstacle is if we think that we're not good at language learning, that we're probably not going to be good at language learning. And that it's the mindset, not our ability, that is in our way. But if we believe that we just haven't learned it yet, the power of yet will help us. Because yet means that there is a future in which I do master a language. That's powerful. Well, let's take a look at what the science tells us. Let's go deeper. I like to understand why things happen. So don't just tell me what the research says. Show me, I can refer you with the show me state. Show me the science. Show me how this works in the brain. It was once thought that at a certain point in our lives, maybe in our teens, our brain became hardwired, and that change did not happen on a large scale. But because of the advances that we've had, especially with MRI, we use MRI to see learning and minute changes occur in the brain. So we now know that our brain is able to continue to grow through connection. So this is what neurogenesis is actually the ability of the brain to create new nerve cells, and that is amazing. It requires a certain context, and that's a lecture for a different day. But I want you to know that your brain is able to create new brain cells and create new connections between the brain cells for life. For the rest, we will continue to create those new pathways. So the picture that we see here, I just want to focus on this. Here in the blue area, that's one neuron, and the purple one is a different one. And they send messages to each other an axon. This the area where the connection touches the cell, the neuron, is called the synaptic bulb. And that synaptic bulb sends neurotransmitters or brain chemicals into the cell, and that tells the cell what to do. And that sends a signal on to other cells and other nerves, and that creates muscle movement and thought and science and all of the things we use in our body. So that's pretty cool. But kind of break it down and make it a little easier to understand. The very first time I learned something new, one neuron, I create a new path. And that new path looks a little bit like the grassy area that's just been mowed down, but it's a little hard to walk fast. Now, if I go down that path 2 or 3 times, or maybe 4, 5, 10 times, it might begin to look like the second path, where the grass is worn away a little more, and I can probably walk a little faster through there. The more times I walk through that path, it becomes even more well-worn, and I can continue to walk faster until finally the path becomes so worn that I can walk really fast. This is a metaphor for how our brains work. The first time we learn something, we create a path. Each time we practice, the path becomes stronger. And as it becomes stronger, it gets faster. The signal moves faster. So think about how that applies to language learning. We need to have spaced repetition as part of our practice as language learners. We need to have exposure and immersion to gain enough input for practice to create those neural pathways that will make information out quickly in our brain. A lot of language learning, especially that happens in public schools, in places where maybe kids are in class for 2 or 3 hours a week, there's not enough practice, and so the pathways can always look like this second image where there's still grass that's overgrown and it's still kind of hard, and students never get a chance to feel what it's like Alright, good. So, we also know, and this is an example of a language-related study and neuroplasticity. So, Hofstadter, Friedman, and myself just a couple of years ago did a study, and they found that short training of less than an hour of high cognitive demand can induce microstructural changes in the cortex, suggesting a rapid time scale of neuroplasticity. So they're able, through the power of MRI, to actually see changes happening in the brain during a 1-hour session of learning. Now, today, outside of the coronavirus, is Alzheimer's disease. That's a disease that affects the brain deeply, and it shuts down portions of the brain. But if we can continue to use our brain to build new synaptic connections, new neural pathways, we may be able to overcome dementia, Alzheimer's disease, even stroke has been shown to be able to be overcome with certain training, that the brain can actually be rewired or can rewire itself. It's amazing. It's like a lizard that loses its tail. It grows back. Okay, let's look at obstacle 3. That is, I can't go where people speak the language I want to learn. Right now, you are with me in Springfield, Missouri, in the United States. You are virtually with me. Right now, I'm sitting in my study in my house, and you're here with me. I could show you my dog, my cat. You're no less with me now than you would be if you were physically here, as far as your brain goes. And so that's really not an obstacle anymore. 10 or 15 years ago, sure. But because of this technology we're using today, it's no longer a problem. And I want to share with you what we are doing at my institute to continue making sure that people can make progress toward their goals and achieve their dreams through language learning. So I have a short video here that's an example of one of our online classes. This is an example that comes from our English for Academic Purposes program. And that program is designed to prepare students for degrees at Missouri State, undergraduate and graduate degrees. So take a look. So that's our classes now. Using Zoom and Blackboard, we can provide a very immersive and in some ways even better experience for learners. So, obstacle number 3, you don't have to be physically here to be with us to learn language. And with that, I want to provide you with a special offer because you were so gracious to attend my lecture and listen to me talk about my favorite subject. I want you to be able to hit a home run. So we have an online conversational pronunciation workshop that we're offering for people who are staying home and want to take advantage of the time to improve their skills. I'm going to give all of you a special offer because of it today. If you want to enroll in this program, I will give you an 85% discount. That is worth, ready? That is worth $850. You pay $150 for a class that is master's degree to solve. It's 24 hours of virtual meetings with our instructors and students from other places in the world. There are 4 different times you can choose from. And to get this offer or scholarship, all you have to do is email me. Tell me the 3 things you learned from today's lecture and why they're important to you. And I'll send you a coupon code you can use when you register. If you register for the class, you'll continue to get discounts on any future classes that you might take. And so I want to thank you so much for giving me the time to visit with you today. And at this point, I'd like to take questions from anyone. So hi, is it okay if I exit out of here and we take some questions about any of the topics